Welcome to Master the Game. I am Juice, and this is the Master the Game 30-day world building challenge. Today, we are on day 5, and we are talking about landscape. So let's get started. When you think of your landscapes, there's a lot of things you have to consider here. Now, I am not somebody who's well-versed in everything about the real world and how things kind of line up, whether you have like mountains next to forests and stuff like that, right? But I tried to use in my own world a lot of things that I've seen in our world, such as where forests are and mountains and things like that. I didn't do a lot of tectonic plate kind of forecasting to decide how my world looks. In fact, I started off with a couple shapes I liked, and that's what led to my continents. The shape of my continent, minus the Orcs Arrow Peninsula, is kind of like a crooked H, to be honest. Is that realistic? I don't think so, but I don't care. To me, it just looked cool, and it kind of allowed me to separate things out how I wanted to see them. In your world, you can be as realistic as you want or as far-fetched as you want. But if it's going to be far-fetched, try to make some sense out of it. I tried to do it as best as I could by mirroring things in our own world. I have, mountains that lead to forests, but I also have that same mountain keeping it separate, like the forest from, say, a desert area or things like that. Again, I don't know how realistic this is in all actuality, but for me it made sense, and that's why I did it that way. The one desert I have that I know makes zero sense because it kind of butts up to the ocean, I've already explained it in my world as being sort of a magical cataclysm that led to what is now the Serpent Sands Desert. And again, it doesn't make sense, I think, from a real world geographic perspective. However, in my world, the way, being able to explain it away with magic seems to work, right? Especially when you're talking about tabletop role-playing games. In my world, in my known world, I do have a variety of types of landscapes. I have marshlands. I have, when you go far north, icelands and snow-covered, mountains and things like that. I have different types of forests, mountains, hills, grasslands, barren, rocky tundras, like all sorts of different things. And to me, I think it works. I think it works for the types of stories I want to tell. If I want to do something more resource heavy, I go to something like the Serpent Sands, or I go to some of the jungles in my world, or forests and things like that. So to me, I wanted to incorporate a variety of type of things, and I wanted them to take up larger areas in case I wanted to run a certain type of campaign focused on one area. And again, it seems to work. I've shown you guys the maps. I've already kind of gone over a lot of it. The area that I think has the most variety is my Blackrock game. So the Blackrock map here, down here is the Serpent Sands. The Serpent Sands are huge. Like, they take up this huge space down here. But between the Serpent Sands and the Blackrock area, you have these massive, massive mountains. And just north of that, you have some forests, some hills, more mountains, more forests, rivers. You got all sorts of different things up here. Up here, you've got like swamps, things like that. But down here is just, I wouldn't say lifeless, but it is hard to survive. So I can run a very gritty feel of a game down there. In this area, because the economy sucks, I can still run a resource-heavy game, But once you start getting up north or over here, or even east of this, the economy's not so bad. It's more of a livable area, right? You have less deadly creatures because you have more dense populations where they've fought off the vermin and monsters and things like that. So you also have more natural resources and things like that in those other areas, which again makes it easier for people, humans, elves, dwarves, dragonborn, whatever races are in the world, to survive in civilization. And whereas these other places, it's easier for large monsters and animals to survive because there's less people and civilization poaching on the lands and the creatures themselves. So so think about your landscapes. I've been trying to do that. I'm starting to think a little more about it, especially as I want to branch out a little bit with more of my islands. To me, I think when planning out my world, though, I wanted a lot of forests and a lot of mountains. So I've done that in these main areas, and they kind of help divide up where large cities are and territories. And I think that's important when you're mapping your world, trying to figure out where things lie, is the landscape should almost dictate the borders of different cities and governments. And, an army isn't going to want to patrol beyond mountains if there's no reason to, right? They're probably going to patrol up to those mountains and let somebody else deal with the other side. And, that's kind of a natural breaking point for things like that. And so I've been trying to do that with my world a little bit. And in the past, I didn't put that much thought into it. So now I've got some areas where are kind of like disputed areas. And I think it's going to actually make for very interesting play down the line when you start getting into more political intrigue and things like that in my games. So I like it. I'm pretty excited about it. Let me know what you think about your landscapes. I'd love to see and hear about it in the comments below. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe so you can see the rest of this 30-day world building challenge. Head on over to our Discord where you can join in the conversation, maybe get some more ideas for your world, things like that. And we will see you guys next time. This is Master the Game. I am Juice. Game on.